Hey everybody, Pep here. You're watching The Sentinel. My next installment, A to Z. I'm slowly getting through them. Today is the letter R, and I'm probably cheating a little bit, but the letter R today is going to stand for one of the Replica series from Maison Martin Margiela, and my little decant is Replica by the Fireplace. Alright, so Martin Margiela, the House of Martin Margiela, released a series under the banner of Replica, and I'm just going to read this out because it's on the bottles, of which I don't have, but it's a reproduction of familiar scents and moments of varying locations and periods. So this one I'm going to talk about today is By the Fireplace, and they've been getting a bit of mention on the internet, online, in forums, and also getting some good reviews. Now, I've mentioned by the Fireplace. There are things like Jazz Club. There is one called Beach Walk. This is off the top of my head. Lipstick On. So they're all supposed to represent the feeling of being in a place or a moment in time, trying to replicate the feeling of that. And I think by and large with By the Fireplace, they achieved that, but by no means are we talking about a perfume that smells just like a thing, much like the way the Demeter house does things where they replicate the smell of something in nature. What By the Fireplace does for me is that it gives you the same kind of, I guess, impression of being by the fireplace. So we'll run through what happens in the opening and how it develops. I'll as always put a list of the notes across the screen, but this basically is a well-made fragrance with some not unusual ingredients note-wise that you don't see in a lot of fragrances, but it kind of does the job, and the most important thing is that it smells nice. So I'll just spray on and we'll have a look at the opening. Okay, so I get a spiciness right off the bat with a tinge of sweetness. Okay, so I do know that there is pepper in the opening here, and I guess how I interpret this opening is when you first start a fire, or you get in front of the fireplace, you get that immediate warmth, and I think that's what this opening and the combination of notes sets out to do. Once you spray it on, you get immediate warm spices and there's a hint of sweetness in behind it as well. So it's not exactly a very, it's dry. It's a dry kind of spice, but not too dry. Not in a dusty kind of way. So obviously, and I'm taking some artistic license here in my interpretation of this fragrance. After a while you're in front of the fire, you've gotten used to that immediate rush of heat and radiant from the radiant heat from the fireplace, and now you've warmed up, and then in the mids there's definitely a nuttiness there, and there's also a bit of smokiness there, and I don't think there's smoke or incense listed as a note, but I do know there's Gaiac wood listed as a note, and my understanding is that type of wood in perfumery has characteristics that can sometimes come off as smoky. So it's a really nice development if not too sophisticated, but it's kind of doing, I guess it's kind of doing what it's setting out to do, which is to give you the feeling or impression of what it's like to be by the fireplace. And you know, by this stage you're getting that nice smoky smell of the wood. You know, there's still some fresh wood in the fireplace that hasn't quite burned yet, and it's combining with the wood that is burning and the crackling of the fire, and it's really quite pleasant. So on this hand I have one I sprayed earlier, and you know, the dry down kind of, I wouldn't say it's disappointing, but it's just ends up being a nice kind of vanillic, very woody base, and I guess it's where you want it to end up being. But having said that, now that I'm smelling it, you do get almost that little bit of charcoal in there, but not the bitter extreme of charcoal. When you smell charcoal, it's combined with like a warm resinous woody base, and it's really nice. And I'll list the prices of these bottles up, the average prices of the Maison Martin Margiela bottles, the Replica series. I've got a decant here. I've enjoyed each time I've worn it. Whether I get a full bottle when this runs out, I'm not sure. I'd be keen to try some of the other stuff like Jazz Club, but it's certainly worth sampling. Certainly a cooler weather scent for me. I can't see myself wearing this in heat. Perhaps like in an evening, but even on a warm night, I probably wouldn't wear it, because I guess it was made to replicate the fireplace, and most of the time you're only going to be near a fireplace in the winter and the cool months. It's a nice cozy comfort scent as well. It's not bombastic in that it's a huge projector. I certainly get like a nice little cloud, you know, just a little bit away from my skin, and it does last up to 8 hours on my skin. By the end of that period, it's pretty much a skin scent, but I can certainly smell it throughout the day. And it does, on my skin this works quite well. It's a nice blend in the dry down with my skin, and it feels like it's almost like a natural odour coming from my skin, and it's very nice, and I recommend trying it. Recommend trying to get samples of the other Replica series. This one is By the Fireplace. This is R for Replica By the Fireplace by Maison Martin Margiela. And I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.